Karis Painter. This is Moves Unfiltered. We explore the dance communities of Philadelphia. We learn how dance is a vehicle of culture, conveying traditions, music, and history. I'm a dancer, an advocate, a storyteller. Come with us as we explore Moves Unfiltered. On Usula Media. We have Dylan DeRosato as our sound engineer, and I'm excited to continue our month of sharing fabulous organizations that are making a difference in the community, especially given COVID. Today, we have Carolyn Watson, who is a marketing professional and board member at Garden of Health, Inc. Food Bank, a food bank that specializes in offering healthy food, fresh produce, and allergen-free foods. She also has her own healthy food blog called The Energetic Foodie, which is how she found out about the food bank in the first place. Over the past 2 years with Garden of Health, she has seen them grow from a grassroots effort to a thriving nonprofit, helping hundreds of people gain access to healthy foods. With that, welcome, Carolyn.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be on the show, and thanks for featuring us.
Yeah, I believe I came across your Instagram page and I was amazed at the connection between healthy food and also giving to the community, especially during this time of food insecurity. So I'm curious how you got involved, your role, and then we can talk more about the organization.
Sure. So I started a healthy food blog about 5 years ago and crossed paths with the founder of Garden of Health. Her name is Carol Bauer. Gets a little confusing because I'm Carolyn. Not often do I run into people with my name. So Carol Bauer has been a volunteer in her community in the Montgomery County area for years. She's a mother of 4, and her family volunteered at their local food pantry for years. And then when one of her daughters was in high school, was having a lot of health issues and trying to figure out what it was. It took a long time to diagnose, and she ended up being diagnosed with celiac disease. Well, they realized very quickly that if they were to be in need of food assistance, that their local food pantry would have nothing that they could eat that would be healthy for them and safe for them to eat. So basically, long story short, the food bank Garden of Health was formed. Carol is an avid gardener herself and has always been on that kind of, gardening path herself, eating healthy, but this kind of spun it in a whole new way for her. So started with some community gardens at local churches. The first year was founded officially in 2015, and to where we are now is covering 2 different counties, Montgomery and Bucks County, giving food to over 25 food pantries across that region.
It's pretty amazing, the work. I was reading over the website that is being done, the number of people that the organization touches. What was the organization doing pre-COVID, and then we'll transition into the work now?
Yeah, so it has changed a lot, and in good ways and also sad ways, it's propelled us because it's sad that the need is so great, but it's also kind of pushed us ahead to becoming bigger and bigger and serving more people, really, is what that means. So before, like I said, and fun fact, a food pantry is where clients go to get food. So like if you and I needed food assistance, we could just walk in the door. A food bank is one that distributes food to those food pantries. So I didn't realize that until I joined this organization. So like think of Phil Abundance. People don't walk up to Phil Abundance if they need food. Phil Abundance distributes food to the places that people go. So fun fact. So we distribute to over 25 food pantries and also some community organizations and some senior housing, low-income senior housing. During COVID, a lot of grassroots efforts from churches and other community organizations have sprung up with daily meal programs. So there have been several of those where we've been directly distributing produce to them, distributing foods that they need. several of them have been popping up. Additionally, during COVID, we have been accepting personal clients. Like I said, people don't normally walk up to our door and get food. That's just the nature of the business model. But because the need has been so great, food pantries at the peak of this, we're seeing 4 times the amount of clients. And just were not prepared. Some of them had, were facing shutdowns or limited hours because of social distancing and safety. So we really stepped up, and you can go to our website still and fill out an application and receive personal deliveries of food if you are in need. So we've been distributing, the last time I checked, gosh, it was over 100 clients that we had on our list that have been receiving personal food from us. So that's been a whole shift in our model. And the need continues to be there. Just last week, we hosted our second free food drive-through, where people could just drive up and drive through and receive food. And we were prepared for 350 cars, and we got 475.
Wow.
So as much as we are thrilled to be helping people and it's this great satisfaction, it's also very eye-opening and still, a little bit of heart. It's a little heart-wrenching to know that there's that many people that are still so in need right now.
Absolutely. And so hungry of all the things to be distributing or to be in need, food is something
Such
that
a basic
absolutely. I think what also has interested me in reading more about the organization is typically we think of poverty and food insecurity in the city in Philadelphia.
Yes.
And Montgomery County is a pretty wealthy county traditionally, Bucks County as well.
Yes.
Have you seen this shift in the population that you serve?
Food insecurity hides. It always has. I don't know specific statistics on that, but you do see people that are not used to being in this situation that are now forced into it. And it's very humbling, and it's very hard for people to ask for that help. And that's one of the reasons, for better or for worse, we do not ask for people to give us any prerequisites. Like, there's no application process to work with us or to receive food assistance. We assume, and just part of being a nonprofit and being the good-hearted people that we are, we're not going to ask you for any specifics like, have you been laid off or what's your situation? If you're asking for food, we're going to assume it's a basic human need and a basic human right, and we're going to help you with that.
Absolutely. I remember hearing someone saying once, if somebody's stealing food, let them steal the food. That's something that they need, that probably most of us have never had that situation happen.
Absolutely. And there's even been some unique situations. We had a mother and 2 daughters. The 2 daughters have immunodeficiencies. One has celiac, and the mother came down with COVID in March, in the very start of this. She said, I can't go to the grocery store, and both of my daughters have autoimmune deficiencies, and we're afraid to go to the grocery store. Like, we're not leaving the house. I have been sick for 3 weeks. I just can't provide for them. Can you help us? And it wasn't that they were unemployed. It wasn't that they were down and out. They just were, like so many, this obscure disease hit them, and they were in a situation they've never been in before. And so we were able to help get them groceries and safe food. And, later on, they ended up writing us a check as a thank you, because it wasn't, they just truly were in this odd situation. And so you have to just help everyone that comes to you. That's part of just the mission and the type of business that we're in.
Absolutely. How do people find out about it? To have over 400 cars sounds wild.
Yes. Well, we are on Facebook, which is a big advertisement for us, but also all of our clients that have been receiving the personal food, we made sure to message them, and all of the food pantries that we work with also publicized it. So people that, again, are already receiving food assistance, we're getting that word. And lots of community organizations ended up spreading the word as well. So it just snowballed.
It's
in a
great.
good
It's
way.
Good way. Definitely. It's great that that information is being spread to people who
Yeah.
need it. I'm still very fascinated by the healthy component of it
Mhm.
because a lot of times when we think of donating food, especially around the holidays in December and around Thanksgiving, it's canned food, it's packaged food, it's processed food. And if you could talk more about the healthy food aspect and where it comes from.
Sure. So a couple different things with that. So one thing I like to always say, our founder started saying this, your wealth does not, excuse me, your wealth does not dictate your health. So
Mm.
you could fall on hard times, or you could be in a situation where you need food assistance, and it has, your health might not be in good shape. And if you're going to a food bank and receiving mac and cheese all the time, that's certainly not going to help you. It's no secret that there's many, many studies out there, including one I was just reading from Harvard, that a diet rich in vegetables and fruits can lower your blood pressure, reduce the risk of heart disease, certain types of cancer, help with digestive problems. Like the list goes on and on. This is not like rocket science anymore, right? That eating fruits and vegetables can improve your health, and just the ramifications of that. There can be a snowball effect when you're in bad health, of losing your job or not being able to go to work or whatever the case may be. So obviously that healthy food is so important for people to be getting. Um, with the where the gardening comes in, like I said, Carol is an avid gardener. So we started some community gardens where we gave education to families that were in need to help them manage the garden. We gave them the tools we helped set them up, help get the garden going, um, help teach them how to keep and maintain it. And then all the produce from there on out was for them to keep. So that was really successful. And then after a couple of years of that, we were able to find a plot of land, 1 acre, to start we call it a community garden. It's not your typical community garden, but all of the produce that is harvested goes to the food pantries that we serve. So last year we did 85,000 pounds of produce we distributed. Now that's a big number, but that was not just from the garden. I don't want to mislead. I don't have the exact figure of what was from the garden, but we also work with two wholesale food distributors and a couple of local gardens and greenhouses that give us their extras, or just we have an agreement with them that we get food regularly from them. So that's where the bulk of it comes from. And we've just been able to make these connections with local organizations, because people just realize the need and how important it is. So it's just been an evolution of starting with those little gardens and then growing to where we are now.
So it seems like from everything you say, there's so much work that goes into this and so many moving parts. And I would assume, given social distancing rules and other impacts of COVID now, there's a lot of challenges. So, how is all of this still being done?
Well, we are a lean machine. So we have no paid employees. The founder is the executive director, and she does it just as what she does every day. So we have a driver that is retired, and Carol, and now we have a couple of board members who have really dug in, like myself, during COVID. But it's just been really with the graciousness of people in our community to make this run the way it has. And so we're definitely going to be expanding quickly in the future, with probably not being all volunteer very soon. We're going to have to hire someone eventually here. But right now it's just been still a grassroots effort in that aspect. But with COVID, I guess, people just step up, and community organizations just have been stepping up. So we've been taking in a lot more food and exporting a lot more food. The biggest thing that's happened to us during COVID is that we've gotten our own official space. Believe it or not, until just this month, we were operating out of our founder's garage.
Wow.
And I don't know how we did it for that long, but we were. And I mean, our model was you pick up produce and you go take it out. Like it was in and out in a day or 2 days. So we didn't have a model of accepting these large donations. or keeping a stocked pantry more than what could fit in her garage because it was just constantly going out to food pantries. And they're the ones that have the stock storage and the space. So just the beginning of July, we signed our first lease on a warehouse space. So we are now able to take in those bigger donations. So that's one big thing. We have been receiving a lot more companies reaching out to us saying, we'll send you a pallet of food. We'll send you a couple boxes of food. And before it was hard for us to accept those. And now we've really been able to lean into that. The biggest one was Shar Foods is a gluten-free food brand. And they're actually, one of their manufacturing plants is in New Jersey. And through the National Celiac Association and Shar, they have donated now 2 tractor trailer loads. Yes, 2. That's 29 pallets on a trailer of gluten-free food. So that was also the impetus for us to get out of the garage. So that's also helped us distribute in more masses, having these free food pickups, helping more clients, and having the space to do that has really been important in getting us to that point.
That is a lot of moving parts to manage. I hear your need and interest for more full-time employees because even unloading one truckload of food is not an easy process.
Yes.
But shout out to them.
Yeah. The other thing that's been great for us, again, twofold here. It's kind of sad that we need this, but it's been a big stepping stone for us is that there have been some increase in COVID grants for nonprofit organizations like ourselves. So we have received a grant for a second truck and for a refrigerated truck. We don't have refrigeration currently. So you can imagine in the summer heat right now, it's just been crazy. You really have to get things out in and out right away. So that's been another great thing that's come out of COVID. Unfortunately, fortunately, that we've been getting some grants to help us really move the needle forward.
Absolutely. And perhaps it has given a little more of a spotlight to food insecurity in the places that you do serve. We have about 5 minutes left. I'm curious of the needs within the organization and maybe also the needs within the community that you still see going forward.
Sure. So we're always looking for volunteers. That's an easy one. We have volunteer hours. You can sign up on our website. The garden is in Harleysville, Pennsylvania, and you can come for an hour or 2 hours, whatever your time you can give. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we have hours at the garden. You can always do an online fundraiser for us. We love Facebook fundraisers. You could do your own food drive. Collect food and we can schedule a pickup or you can deliver it to our new space now that we have a space. Those are 2 really easy ones. Sure, we would love to have anyone come to be a board member or to help with any of those kinds of tasks. Maybe not be a board member, but maybe do some grant writing or help us do some marketing or whatever you're good at. Maybe you have a couple hours, you could be a driver for us. So those are a couple of things. Those are the basic things. And just to follow us on our Facebook page, our Instagram page, Twitter page, to keep that awareness going.
Absolutely. Other needs in the community that you see going forward?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a longer problem or a longer need than, we went to green and some people went back to work, but the need's still there. So people are still reeling from this, even if they've gone back to work because they're probably behind on bills. And if you're trying to pay your electric bill versus buy groceries, that need is going to be there for a while. So just continuing to make donations, continuing to, not even to us. I know a lot of your viewers are in Philadelphia. Donate to your local food pantry, donate to Phil Abundance, or whatever organization that is close to you. Because just because we've seen the height of this go down in Pennsylvania does not mean that the need is not still there for food.
Absolutely. What does the organization look like going into the fall and winter when maybe the growing season comes to an end?
Sure. At that point, we do rely solely on our wholesale distributors and greenhouses that we get food from. And of course, people that do food drives, we're now going to be able to have a food drop off point that we won't have to be there to accept those donations at our new warehouse location. So the need is ongoing, and obviously we need more fruits and vegetables from other sources in the fall and winter, but we still are able to make that happen with our connections that we have.
Absolutely. Any other things you want to highlight or share, or yeah, bring to light to the viewers and listeners? We'll just wait a few seconds. Her internet might be a little frozen. I'm continually amazed by the work of people in Pennsylvania, across the country, to give back to the community, to take this time during challenging times for many people. And to hear about Garden of Health and their impact is really amazing, because as Carolyn was mentioning, food banks tend to have processed food, canned food, and knowing that there are organizations such as Garden of Health Inc. that do give and provide healthy food, taking into consideration different dietary needs, is really amazing. We'll see if we can get Carolyn back. And if not, we might sign out. Let's see. I'm going to read something from their website. As Carolyn mentioned, the quote from Carol Bauer, the founder, "Your wealth shouldn't dictate your health." And I think we all know that as individuals who have gone into the grocery store and seen the difference in price for produce versus food that is more processed in the aisle, wrapped up in a box or packaging. It's great to know that there are organizations out there that really help those who struggle to afford groceries, who have food allergies and other health conditions. I don't know if you noticed Carolyn's shirt, but it had the logo. So for those of you who are interested in donating, volunteering, or even looking up more information about Garden of Health, their website is gardenofhealthinc.org. They are located in Harleysville, Pennsylvania, and they are doing fabulous work right now. Carolyn, I think, is having issues coming back on. So at this point, we will close out, we'll take a break, and we will come back. That was Carolyn Watson with Garden of Health, and she was sharing about the fabulous impact that they have as a food bank in Montgomery and Bucks County. I'm Karis Painter. This is Moves Unfiltered on Usula Media. Dylan DiRosato is our sound engineer. We'll be back in a few. Oh. So maybe we'll have them both hop on.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
Hi, I'm Karis Painter. We're back with Carolyn from Garden of Health Inc., and she's going to close out her time with us by sharing any other issues, concerns, things you want to share with our listeners, and how we can reach you.
Yes, thank you again so much, Karis, for having us. Garden of Health Inc. Food Bank. We would love to have you follow us on social media, your favorite social media platform, or check out our website, gardenofhealthinc.org, or like I said, Garden of Health on your favorite social media channel.
Thank you so much, Carolyn. We really appreciate it. This is a trying time for many people, and the work that you and your organization and all the volunteers are doing is really uplifting and inspiring. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
So we'll transition to joining us now is Fernando Mendez of the
Hello,
Roundtable
Karen.
on Usula Media.
Long time no see.
Hi, I hear you. Now I see you.
I see you too.
How is it going?
Just keep reading all these very annoying news about opening schools that are not prepared to open. And there was a National Association of Teachers spokesperson. I think she might be the head of it, complaining about the fact that the schools are not ready, and it takes a lot of time to prepare schools. So, anyway.
Do you know who was saying that? Who the person's name was? I'm curious.
It's a lady. I cannot remember right now. Randy
Weingarten. She used to be. Hopefully I'm not going to get this wrong. She used to be the head of the union in New York City, the teachers union, which I believe is the biggest teachers union in New York City. Very strong force. Yes, you've worked in schools. You're very well aware of the conditions that schools are in pre-COVID.
Yes, we had when we opened the Congreso School, the Pan American Charter School. We were in a really old building, and so the concern there was, the health of the kids because of asbestos and whatnot. So anyway, later on, we built that new installation on Calle 5, on 1st Street, right across from the Congreso headquarters. As a Pan American Charter School, and it's a modern building, so we felt safe. Yeah.
I think I would be very hesitant as an educator to go back, knowing how much students are social and they interact with each other in ways that are hard to control on a normal day.
Well, right now, the largest number of people contracting the COVID are between the ages of 25 and 35, something like that. So, and it's because their behavior, so.
They're social creatures, and I think this has been proven that the parts of the brain in young people are still developing up into a certain age in their 20s.
The frontal lobe, yeah.
There you go.
Some men never develop it, actually.
Is that a fact?
I don't know. It just seems like it.
It's wild. Would you, if a school you were working at reopened for in-class lessons, would you go back?
No way. No. I think the only way I would go back to school to teach would be if we have a vaccine and everybody gets it. Yeah. Other than that, there's no way I'm going to a school building.
Do you think some of these people who are anti-vaxxers to begin with, this might change their view towards vaccinations?
It depends. Some of them are very determined that they would never get a vaccine, that they would not allow their children to be vaccinated and all that stuff. So I don't know. I think because of all the illnesses around that require a vaccine, they may become a smaller population.
Absolutely.
So, yes. The punishment is in their attitude. If they don't want vaccines, they're going to disappear.
Right. It's true. I sometimes I've heard people say that if people are going to go out without a mask, they should sign a waiver, or if they're not going to get a vaccine, they should sign a waiver that they understand what's going on and that they cannot receive any medical attention at a hospital, which seems extreme to me.
That's right. Well, right now, the crisis in hospitals right now is they don't have enough ICU beds. Houston, Florida, Arizona, tremendous crisis over there with COVID.
It's
The growth.
it's wild, and if you look at some of those maps that they've put in the media, it's a lot of southern states.
That's right. Well, Mr. Trump was showing a map yesterday behind him on the podium, behind the podium, and it with the southern part of the United States seemed to be the most affected by COVID. So.
Which is interesting because if you think about New York City, it spread so quickly there. New York City is still a huge city with a very dense population, and yet the numbers are not going up there.
Right. So in general, I think the Northeast has fared well, and maybe I don't know. Maybe have we acted more responsibly than other states? The weather has contributed. Maybe I don't know.
Did you read there was an article that came out that said Philadelphia has the highest number, I want to get the statistic right, of individuals who wear masks or say they wear masks?
Possible. I am part of a group. Every day I sign in. It's COVID-19 and it has a logo and all that. And it says report whether you have symptoms or not. And so every day I open up the app and I say I'm fine. No, I haven't had a test, and I have no health issues. And so I think that's how they're keeping up with some information. It doesn't include a lot of people, I'm sure, but
absolutely
sample.
A friend of mine suggested that people were just saying they wore masks, but in reality,
well, I wear a mask every time I go out, and sometimes I forget and I go back to the house to get it because I feel very responsible, and not only for myself. I mean, like other people. It's like, but the concern is that many people are not wearing their masks, and I walk around my neighborhood, and sometimes now what I'm doing is to convey the message that they need to wear a mask. If I am wearing mine, I see somebody with no mask, I lower mine to say, okay, now we're even, because you don't want to protect yourself. I'm not going to help you either.
It's very sad. Although I have to say, I was driving through West Philly the other day, and I was amazed at the number of people wearing masks, waiting for the bus, and social distancing. So, waiting for the bus, typically people are very close to each other. There were maybe 20 people. It was on 34th Street, like 34th and Market, all spread out wearing masks. And I was amazed because after spending time in Miami, where a majority of people outside were not wearing masks, I tip my hat to those people in Philadelphia.
Yeah, well, that's one of the places where right now there's a tremendous surge in Miami, for good reason. I mean, a lot of people were irresponsible when they opened partially, and they filled bars and cafes and restaurants and all that. And now here they are, sort of taking back all the progress they had made.
Absolutely. And some of it is probably attributed to the fact that they opened up and people were getting on these flights from Philadelphia, from Detroit, going down to Florida as well, thinking that this was the place to hang out and be social.
I know. There's the baseball that traditionally opens in that part of the country, the initial season, the preseason, and all that. And I think they were saying a couple of those games are responsible for spreading the virus because people flew in, went to the games, and then went back to their respective states.
That's
And
wild.
so that explains it.
Because they also said that's how it initially was spread in parts of Europe. Hopefully, I'm getting this correctly from my memory. That there were these games that were happening, and groups of people, I want to say Germans, went to a game and then they came back and they were infected.
That's possible. The most outrageous case is the one of Djokovic, who organized a tennis tournament in his country. What is it? Serbia. And so a lot of the people who went to that got ill. And so his tournament contributed to spreading the virus in Serbia.
It's wild. Now, you live in Center City, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Are some of those buildings, some of those businesses that were closed post-protest open now?
Yes, some of them. Was encouraging to see the Apple building getting ready to open, because that's one of the big businesses in Philly.
Right.
And they suffered tremendous damage. Imagine
They
that.
did.
Oh yeah, they broke all the windows and they took whatever merchandise was available there. That and the sneaker stores, clothing stores. Really.
I would have thought,
they're opening now. So
wow, I would have thought Apple would have had better security gates.
you think, right? If I had anything to say, I would install gates that automatically close anytime there is any demonstration nearby.
Or at night, I think most small businesses in Philadelphia would say if you don't have those roll down gates, you're just not protected.
That's right. And that happened to many businesses. And some of them were set on fire, which was even worse because they will take longer to come back. Wells Fargo, the one of the offices, Wells Fargo, suffered damage, tremendous damage. I don't know what they do. Like, what do they intend to take money from the ATM?
Did you read that story in West Philadelphia along 52nd Street, which is a traditionally predominantly strip of African American businesses? That area was heavily damaged, and they this week arrested 2 people in connection with breaking into a bank with a forklift, which had previously been stolen from the Home Depot. I want to say either earlier in the day or the day before.
Right.
And one of the suspects they arrested had a blonde wig on, but a very distinctive tattoo.
Not very smart. Well, so that looks like or sounds like they were planning this all along and they just used the occasion.
Absolutely. Wow. Absolutely. And opportunistic in a neighborhood, in an area that traditionally has had issues of violence, has issues of poverty, but is a lot of small owned businesses. I remember driving down 52nd Street, and there are a lot of clothing stores that are locally owned. So that's a shame.
The main streets that suffered in Philly, around Broad Street and towards Rittenhouse Square, were Chestnut, Walnut, and some on Market Street, and really heavy damage to many of them. And then as you said in West Philly and in Fishtown, Kensington up there, and one of the business areas too, the same thing. And how can you destroy the very neighborhood that you need to survive, especially in the time of COVID, when so many jobs have disappeared? So how long is it going to take for many of these merchants to come back from that disaster?
It's absolutely true. But I guess that goes to those individuals were probably not closely tied to their community, despite actually living in the community. Right. And that can happen anywhere, rich, poor. But a shame for those people who have invested in the neighborhood, who do try to use local businesses.
That's right.
I just read that they stole what this case I was talking about, $104,000, and they were found through their Instagram profile.
How? I wonder. Were they bragging about it or something?
I want to say it had to do with the tattoos.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, see, if you have one of those distinctive things, you should know enough to cover them up or something, you know.
Going back to the Apple store,
Yeah.
I would be a little nervous to go in a store where the whole idea is that you're touching things that other people have touched.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You have to walk in with one of those disinfectants, sanitizer. But again, now you know the latest on these. They recalled like 75 products, the sanitizer, because they have what is it? Iris told me what it was. Some one of the elements in it are poisonous. I forgot which one. So maybe we should investigate that and convey that information to the public. Don't use them, you know. And we both promoted one of the companies that has, you know, a reliable product because they have been around forever, so they're more reliable.
Yes.
So
I still go back to hand washing. I prefer hand washing. The hand sanitizer always feels like there's something over my hands.
Really?
Yes. But I have to say, at the Clark Park, West Philadelphia farmers market, they are so eco-friendly and COVID proactive. They have a big pot, kettle, container of warm water and soap that you can wash your hands before you go and after you leave the farmers market.
But the thing is, they have so many people jumped into this, like with the masks. All of a sudden, people, all kinds of makers of masks, selling them for you know, $20 or $29, and they're no more effective than the $2 mask you can buy at CVS.
Absolutely, but it becomes this idea of having your personality on the mask. I definitely have been amazed when I was in Argentina at the number of people that were making masks and selling them. It was very rare to see someone with a disposable mask. Here I see it much more often. I think because we're not a society that sews and reuses things as much.
Yeah, I just have the headline here for dozens of hand sanitizers are potentially toxic, according to the FDA. So, Food and Drug Administration has a list of these. So you must look at the list in case you have one of those.
How would we know?
The poisonous part is methanol, also known as wood alcohol. So they have a list of 75 products that you should not use.
And I would assume if people have already bought these, how would you ever know that there was a recall on hand sanitizer?
Well, we're telling them they should be listening. If they're not listening, it's not our fault, right?
This is very true. It's awful.
They want to be well informed. Listen to Usala Radio. You know?
I have to say, I had a car. I won't say the brand name because it traditionally is a good brand, but there was a recall on a part of the car, and they sent me something a letter in the mail and said, get your car to the dealership as soon as possible. Oh, wow. Which is a little scary because what if you had moved? What if you never got the letter?
Is it a hybrid?
No, it's not a hybrid.
No, I thought you would be using one of those.
I would love a hybrid. That was not the car I had at the time. It was actually a Honda with the airbags. Those airbags would, I think,
Honda
severely.
Is a reliable product, yes. Honda.
It is. I think with the airbags that they would get so hot, especially in the summer, that when they would explode, that was incredibly damaging.
It could cause a lot of damage. Yeah, well, I can see that. Yeah, so it's another product that should send us a check. Honda and Purell for the sanitizer. So Uh, that's the one. That's one that's reliable because it's an old company. It's an old product. It didn't just pop up overnight to start selling you. There's so many strange names. I never saw them selling the small bottles of sanitizer. Who knows what products they have in there?
No idea.
No. And then the same thing with the masks. Who knows what who made them? And people are making money with those. But,
Well, and also when I see these, I saw an image this morning of somebody cleaning the inside of the plane with this kind of fumigation gun and all this stuff coming out. Who knows what they're spraying into these planes?
right. I was shocked when they were showing in New York when Cuomo was giving the daily updates, and they showed how they cleaned the trains without spraying them with all kinds of stuff. Like, I don't know. I don't know what is in that product.
I'll definitely be wearing a mask now and a full bodysuit.
Yeah, hazmat. Hazmat suit to get into the train. That'd be
It's
fun.
true. I mean, if I can only imagine people who have allergies or are sensitive to things in the environment that would make it much worse.
We're going to start looking like aliens as we board trains with all kinds of equipment to protect ourselves, you know.
Absolutely. But I think that idea of even taking the train or the subway goes back to who uses public transportation traditionally are people who don't have access to vehicles.
That's right.
And they're being
But
exposed.
in New York, it's everybody. But
It is.
New York is, in that sense, a more democratic environment. Everybody
Absolutely.
uses the train. There was a famous story of Rockefeller trying to take the subway, and he had no change. He had no money. He didn't carry a wallet. The richest man in the world at that point he didn't have a wallet to take the subway.
I remember when Bloomberg was mayor, he would famously take the subway
Right.
to City Hall.
Yeah. Neil Cott, it was another one. He was famous for doing that, making speeches as he boarded the trains.
It's a good way to connect with voters, I suppose.
I think so. That didn't help Bloomberg running for president, though.
Absolutely not.
One of those things. I'm sorry. Anyway, speaking of, waiting to see who's Mr. Biden going to pick for a running mate.
I know you want to talk about this.
Are you available?
I am not available. I at this moment in my life do not have interest in politics. in being in office, I should say.
Okay.
I'm very interested in politics.
In politics, yes. Do you know there are 4 women candidates? And
have they officially narrowed it down to 4, or is
4,
this
yes.
your distillation?
That's what I read, and one of them is Kamala Harris.
Hmm.
The other one is I have no memory. I should take that test that Mr. Trump bragged about.
Is Stacey Abrams still
Stacey
considered?
Abrams is possibly one of them. Yes.
Duckworth, Tammy Duckworth.
Duckworth, right? And who's the 4th one? There are 4. So.
Do you have a favorite? I think you do.
I like Kamala Harris.
What is it about her?
She seems to have. She had great experience as a prosecutor and then as a senator. Very effective, well spoken, well prepared. Always sharp with her questions. When she was on a panel investigating the whole Ukraine corruption scheme, so I like her. She was a federal prosecutor, so she knows what to do.
The other 2 that I'm seeing are Condoleezza Rice, is somebody that the Los Angeles Times named, and I believe that there's one more.
Besides Condoleezza Rice, there was another one.
Oh, Elizabeth Warren.
No, she's not going to make it.
No, she's going to make
it. Rice.
Yep.
Condoleezza Rice, and there was another one. Anyway, so I don't remember now. But so one of the things is there's urgency for him to pick a mate because they have to print ballots to mail, and the longer he takes to decide on a running mate, the longer it will take to have those ballots out to the public to make sure that people vote.
Absolutely.
So
No,
it behooves the vice president to pick quickly.
well, it also shows who he considers to be somebody that could step up into the role of president should something happen. Two
Right.
people I just pulled up MSN News. Two other people are Representative Karen Bass of Los Angeles and Representative Val Demings of Florida.
Yeah, no, neither one of those.
No.
Down. Thumbs down.
You think he's going to go with a bigger name, a nationally known name?
I would say yes, because it would be an instant recognition that of this person's abilities, as opposed to having somebody, an unknown, nationally unknown person who has to build up a reputation. So it could be a disaster, like happened with Sarah. What was her name?
Palin.
Sarah Palin. You know, that was the biggest mistake. But anyway,
it made for good SNL shows.
You could see Russia from her kitchen. Yes, that was wonderful. Great material she gave us.
I bet SNL is very excited about who will be picked.
Oh, absolutely. They have to. And I can't wait to see also how they deal with this cognitive test. They're going to do something.
They're gonna fly with it. I think they've had. Have you seen some of their shows that they've done from home? Now they're on break, but
I saw a couple of things, but they were not very good. It's very difficult to do that show as other people did it. Like the music has worked.
Yes.
The concert. I saw one with different stars. And the Philadelphia Orchestra, and the director of the orchestra was Nizar Sagan. He did a good job, sort of gathering all this. So you have these multiple faces on the screen, and they're all doing different things. It was amazing.
Yeah. I think it's hard with comedy, especially SNL, which is they play so much off of each other to not have that connection.
Yes. I think it's probably the most difficult thing to do. But a couple of concerts that I saw, actually, television has been a savior for many people because there are many good things on TV. So, and I just recommended yesterday one. If you have Netflix, watch Le Carré's novel that was made into a mini-series, The Night Manager. One of the best things, best productions. Might be a BBC production. I'm not sure.
Interesting.
But check it out.
Definitely.
The Night Manager.
Night Manager. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the time. I think it's about the hour where we wrap it up.
Okay.
Fernando Mendez, it's always nice to talk to you.
Time flies when we're talking on this.
We do. There's lots of news to cover.
Oh, I have a whole list of things that we didn't touch. So we have to continue.
We'll have to continue next
another
week.
hour.
Absolutely.
Tell Dylan we want to continue doing this.
Thank you so much. I'm Karis Painter. This is Moves Unfiltered on Usula Media. Thank you, Dylan DiRosato, our sound engineer, Fernando Mendez. Until next time.